about an exciting episode of Check with Tech, your guide to all things tech. I'm your host Yaseen Azzam, and let's get started, shall we? First things first, at least most of us remember the day of the death of Vine, rest in peace. And if you don't know what Vine is, it was basically a social media platform that made you share videos of up to 6 seconds in length. And it was pretty popular at the time because it was easy to share your content. And after Twitter bought Vine, it went downhill and just closed in 2017. So now, co-founder of Vine, Dom Hoffman, after Vine closed, Dom said that he would make a sequel to Vine. And now, ladies and gentlemen, almost 3 years after this statement, we finally have something to use. And it's now called Byte. So right now, you can download the direct sequel to Vine, aka Byte, on the Google Play and the App Store. If you do find that it's not available in a country, don't worry, that's actually pretty unanimous here because it still has a small team, so they're narrowing their focus to a few countries because, again, they don't have much of a budget. So I'm happy to see that, yes, some people still care about us, the customers, and they finally are about to bring something that might be able to live up to the name that is Vine. Now let's talk about something else. Now, one of the most surprising successes in video games last year was a game called Untitled Goose Game, which was actually titled. So in that game, you are a goose and you're trying to interfere / torture the neighbors / gardeners in the neighborhood. So the point of the game is to take their stuff, steal it, maybe hide them somewhere, and probably just use it for your own good. And it was very successful in that game, and it was quite surprising. So now, a developer called Sam Chiat, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, basically he just thought of that. What happens if you put the goose onto your desktop? Well, now this imagination is finally reality with his software, Desktop Goose. Yes, basically, you get the goose, you unzip the file, and bada bing, bada boom, you have a goose that's going to basically put you into madness. What would he do exactly? Well, he can sometimes track mud all over your screen. He can steal your mouse and you can't control it anymore. He can bring back notes with positive / negative thoughts. A whole lot more. Currently, this software is available in itch.io and it's for free, but if you want, you can support him. And at some point, he said this: "There's something almost aspirational I find in the reserved anarchy of a goose." And that is his vision. Basically, he wants to torture you, but not too much. I mean, yes, you will be annoyed, and yes, it may be cute in a way, but overall, if you want my opinion, don't try it. Especially if you're a workaholic. You'll be so mad. So I don't think most of you know this, but it's not Google or Apple that create the emojis. It's actually a company called the Unicode Consortium. It basically gets the suggested designs for emojis and then sends them to all the emoji using platforms such as Android or iOS. So now they're basically getting ready for Emoji 13.0, which is a new year full of new emojis. And actually, one of the most surprising ones is the Italian hand. You know, when the Italian chef prepares something delicious, he makes that hands, yeah, it's there. And we also have a smiling face with a tear, and two people hugging. Those two were actually submitted by Google. And for some reason, you now have a mammoth, dodo, teapot, polar bear, and a bubble tea and fondue emoji. Okay. So yes, at this point they're just putting in random emojis that come to them as suggestions. But I mean, it's not bad. I wouldn't say there aren't a lot of new emojis, but over time I believe that there will be less emojis. I mean, if you put more and more emojis, there will be less to actually suggest. So I believe that soon, probably next year, there will be a decline in new emoji designs. But that's just my opinion. Who knows? And it's going to be available at around Android 11 or iOS 14. So if you upgrade your phone to these two OSs, you can probably find them. Newsflash, Huawei gives up, but not in the way you think. Well, obviously you know that the US ban has been around for around half a year, and of course Huawei is affected by it greatly by not using Google services. So now Huawei made a statement that they no longer need or want Google services. So even if the trade ban is gone and is lifted, and Huawei can use Google services, they won't. Well, obviously, half of that is because they are confident in their own services, and the other half is basically political. Huawei's Austrian country manager Fred Wangfei, I hope I am pronouncing it correctly again, it says that the company wants to get rid of its dependence on US politics. Because who knows, there might be another conflict between US and China, and Huawei might still use Google services, and then they'll be kicked out again. So from here on out, Huawei is going to use its own services. Hopefully it's still using Android, which it probably is. But now with Huawei, after even developing most of its services, which is actually they developed it really quickly in time for market shares and all that. So props to Huawei for dealing with that very quickly, but it still costs a lot and it will dip into their market share. But hopefully Huawei is looking for a future where it's going to come out on top, which it's actually close to. So don't expect any new phones from Huawei to have Google services. So probably some of us are believing that the future of technology is going to be mainly AI or artificial intelligence. Google believes in that idea, so that's why they created Meena. It's basically a chatbot. Yes, an AI chatbot. And you can use it for calls, conversations, etc., etc. So now to actually prove that it is worth the R&D, they made something that is called the Sensibleness and Specificity Average, or SSA. Basically, it's metric or measuring tool to figure out if the chatbot/AI is actually useful to conversations. How did Google develop this? Well, they actually got around 100 people to communicate between Meena and other open domain chatbots. And every time the chatbot answers a question, the person has to answer two questions about that. First, did it make a logical sense with the conversation? If yes, then they have to answer the other, which is, was it specific to the conversation? This is to, make sure that it's leveled out in a human way and just to make it more humane. So Google claims that the average humane that a chatbot should achieve should be at least 86% from the SSA. Other chatbots that weren't Google's scored between 31 and 56%. Meena scored a 79. While yes, Meena isn't yet at the average, but it is closer to the other chatbot according to Google. Now, this is exciting because it almost means that almost realistic chatbots are coming soon, probably by the end of this year. And I'm just excited to see how Google can handle a chatbot capable like Meena. New challenger approaching. OnePlus is finally adding a feature that has been so suggested over the years of OnePlus's life. Now, of course, OnePlus and their phones are incredibly good with really good quality and an incredible price. So one of the biggest suggestions for their next phones, the OnePlus 8, 8 Pro, and probably 8 Lite, is wireless charging. More specifically, key wireless charging, which is the same thing but faster. So recently there has been a report saying that OnePlus has joined the WPC, or the Wireless Power Consortium. What is that? It's basically a group of all the companies that use key wireless charging in their products, such as Samsung, Apple, Huawei, Oppo, almost every other phone manufacturer today. So if it's true, then it's a really good possibility that the OnePlus 8 lineup could have key wireless charging. But then again, I wouldn't count on it too much. I would take it with a grain of salt because it's not confirmed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we close off this week in tech. Thank you guys so much for listening in this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Please check out my other episodes in this podcast, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. As always, this is Yaseen Azzam signing out. See you next weekend.